Agricola. 22nd of July 22. Okay. Sequens ennis. In the following year, gravi vulnere. These are ablatives. This is like a serious heavy wound. Animum domumque. So his mind and his home, his home, was afflicted with a serious wound. Obviously, your mind can't get a wound, but you can figure that out. Nam classes. So we've got the adverb or conjunction, how we want to treat it. Nam classes. For the fleet of Otho, we're taking Otho here as an adjective, or the man of his fleet. Licenta, we'll take that as an adverb actually. So for the men of the fleet of Otho were at license, they were freely vaga, wandering, while Intimilium, which is a part of Liguria, so that explains what this proper noun is. They were populator hostility, so they were ravaging Intimilia hostilely while wandering about, vaga. Matrim Agricola, the mother of Agricola, in praedis suis. This is in her own estate, or it could be Agricola's, who the suis belongs to, interfecit. So the mother of Agricola was killed in the estate, and Pradia qui ipsa, and this estate itself was the booty, and magnum patrimony partem. So this was a great part of his inheritance, and which it was seized. Quae causa catus furat, which was the cause or the reason of this slaughter. So his mother was killed while they were depopulating this town, and the reason for the slaughter was the estate itself. So igitur, therefore, ad solemnia fietatis profectus Agricola. So therefore, Agricola, past passive, he had set out for the solemn piety, for his duty, which he owed to his mother. Nuntio, and we'll take this as by a message or in a message, adfectato. So he's heard a message, a Vespasiano imperai de prehensus and statim in partis transgressus. So it looks like Vespasian's taking this past participle. And so the empire had been seized by Vespasian, and immediately Agricola transgresses or crossed over into his partis, into his side. Nitia Principatus. So at the beginning of the principate of this new emperor, and statum urbis, and the state of the city was regibated, and here's a nominative. Mucianus was ruling at the beginning of the principate and the affairs of the city. Juvene, we've got an ablative. Ad modum, that's adverb, it's a bit like satis, it means fully. Okay, so this is the other part of the ablative. Dominici. So Domitian was still fully a young man, and ex paterna fortuna, and of his the fortune he got from his father, we'll just keep it simple, was merely here we go. He was usurpante. He was only using the licentiousness of his father's fortune at this stage because he was still so young, so he could do whatever he wanted. Is missum, so he, whoever we're talking about, was sent ad dialectus. That looks like a fourth accusative plural. Oh no, it looks like it's taking the agendas. So Agricola was sent, going with that, for the agenda of raising a levy. This is where you get troops. And integre and strenue, we're looking at adverbs. So he was fully had integrity and energy. Versatum Vicissime Legiano Tarde. So it's got the 20th Legion here. Looks like some type of genitive. Okay, so they were slow to taking their sacraments. Okay, so to the new emperor. And so he was preposited. Agricola was placed in charge of them because they'd been slow to take the sacraments, to cross over to the new emperor. Where the decessor, or his predecessor, the person who was previously in charge, seditiose agere narrabatur. So that's impersonal. So it was said that the predecessor was conducting himself seditiously or rebelling. Okay, quibi legatus. This will be plural. So since legatus also consulibus, we'll take these both as ablative plurals. Since the legates of consuls also nimia ac formidalusa. Okay, so we've got there was too much and too formidable even for the legates of consuls, and neither could a legate of a mere praetorian was powerful enough to this gerund to cohibit to check them. So this legion, who had a leader who was rebelling or mutinying, consular legates couldn't control them, neither could a praetorian legate. So it was uncertain suo an militum ingenio. So it was uncertain whether it was by his own ingenio, whether as an, or due to the soldiers themselves. Ita. So thus, successor simul in ultor. At the same time, he was a successor and a revenger, electos. So he was chosen as a successor with a rarissima moderation. So this is looking like a superlatives, and they're in ablative. So we preferred, with the most rarest moderation, to seem to have found bonos. This would be the legion. He'd found the men good rather than fecici, than making them good. Praerat tunc Britannia. That's the genitive. Vetius bolens is a nominative. So in charge then of Britain, Vetius Bolanus. Placidius. It's a comparative. Quam feroci. So he's rather more placid, or more placid than ferocious, than as worthy than the province dignum est, yeah. So Vetius Bolanus, the province was more worthy of someone more ferocious, but he was more placid. Tempora vit Agricola. So Agricola is a nominative again. So he tempered himself. Vim suem. He tempered his own force and his ardor, his eagerness, he compesquited. So he tempered his own force and checked his own burning ambitions. Ne increscerit. So it's a subjunctive after the ne. So lest be increased, lest his own ardor increase too much. Peritus, that's a past passive. He was experienced. Obsequi, to being obedient, and eruditus, which is educated. Take that as a past passive. Miscere utilia with honestis. And he mixed in taking advantage of the situation, the utility, with honesty. Brevi deinde. So with deinde, it takes an E before consonants, and it's usually D-E-I-N before vowels. So in a short period of time then, Britannia consuralum, we've got accusative. Okay. So Britain received Petilius Cerealium, or whatever his name is, as a consul, who's now in charge. Habuerunt virtutes spatium exemplorum. That's a genitive plural. So his virtues had a space of getting examples of this leadership, but in the first place, but primo, Cerealis, it's this guy here, now he's in the nominative. Labours only and discrimina, which is like crises and turning points and danger. And soon also, we'll take two as also, communicabat. That's he shared in glories. So, but first of all, he just had labours and crises and danger, and then he took a share in glory. Saipi, very common word. So often, partai exercitus in experimentum. So sometimes part of the army in a test, or see how he'd go. It's pretty much like the same as the English experiment. And sometimes we've got ablative plurals with major forces, or a copious amount of the forces, ex evento, depending on the event, on the turnout, prefecit. So often, here's our verb, prefecit. He is put in charge of parts of the army as a test, and sometimes in charge of major forces depending on the result. Nec Agricola. So neither did Agricola umquam ever, in suam famam, in his own fame or reports, gestis exaltavit. So he didn't exalt the gestis with the deeds that he'd done, neither did he ever boast about these in his own favour, basically, in his own fame. So here's the daily dictionary word, exemplum. Can mean all these different things. A deed, memorable circumstance, etc. Ad auctorum and ducam, we've got accusatives. Ut minister, we'll take that as a nominative. Fortunem referabat. So, as a minister, as someone who was serving under someone else, he referred his fortune to the one with the authority and the leadership. So, he referred all his fortune to the person he was serving under. Ita, so thus, virtute. In virtue, in obsequiendo, we've got another gerund. So, by his courage in following, and his veracundia, which is modesty or shame, he's in predicanda, we've got another gerund. So this is can be predicting, but it's more, he was showing modesty in the things he was saying, and virtues in following, that he was extra invidium, outside of envy or hate, and neither extra gloriam. He wasn't boasting beyond his own glory. Revertentem, that's a present participle in the accusative, so we know straight away he's coming back from his legation, from being a legate over the legion. Now we come across a nominative. Divine Vespasian inter patricios ad scivit. This is a common Tacitus word. It means he's coming in to join a group. So the divine Vespasian admitted him amongst the patricians when he was returned from his delegation over the legion. Actiendi, and then provinciae, it's a genitive, Aquitiniae, so these go together, the double genitives. And so then he was placed in charge of the province of Aquitinae. It's on the coast of the Atlantic, I believe. Splendidae, another genitive. Imprimus dignitatus administratus. So there were great splendid honours going on in this administration. And spe, and in hope, consulatus is a fourth, so you can have a genitive. And so with his hope of being a consulship, cui, to which destinare, to which it was destined, he was, Vespasian was going to make him a consul. Credunt pleriqui. So most people credunt, believe, militaribus ingenus. So these are ablative plurals. Subtilitatem dsa. So that in a military character, it's lacking the subtleties. Because castrensis jurisdictio. So that the jurisdiction, the leadership over the camp, securities and obtuse. This is rather bluntly and safely and agens here. That's our present participle. So that's conducted with a plural menu, with many hands, like high handily. Calidatatem, that's a present participle accusative for. So he doesn't exercise himself with a cunningness of the forum. So not like a lawyer does. So he's got jurisdiction over the camp, but he doesn't use the same cunning that you'd use in a law court. And to wrap it up, Agricola, the nominative, naturulae prudentia, these are ablative, with his natural wisdom, quam vis, although inter togatos, that's inter always takes the accusative, so it's accusative clause. So even though he's amongst the togata clad people, so these are citizens who wear the togas, facile and juste. So easily and justly he conducted himself, or he was conducting himself. That's an imperfect.